I'm going to talk to you today about the somatic floor sequence. Okay. And it's all part of awakening and activating our body. And I just want to remind everyone that the reason we're bringing the body into it is because we operate as a whole being, right? And for those of you, I think we've all done discovery sessions together. So when we're born, when you're a baby and you're coming into the world and your motor cortex is developing, right? And you're fresh out of the womb. You're so malleable. Your nervous system, your mind is just popping with new pathways and neurons. One of the first things we do when we're a baby, is we lift from our belly, right? And the inclination is to lift the head and to look at the horizon. To look at the horizon. And this is starting to move us into get our proprioception, our movement, the way we orient ourselves to the world. It begins to wire us in. And we even start to lift up, you see the babies, they lift their head and the back of their legs a little bit off the floor before they crawl. Everything is moving and all the system is moving from center. And when they're crawling, right, they're moving into life. So the soma, when we say somatics, soma, it refers to our living being in our body, our awareness of our body from inside. So when we're born and we're starting to move and then we grow, our life is actually, in the way we perceive our life, is partly through movement. If babies are born, you guys, and they're unable to move, okay, for whatever reason, genetic reason, physiological reason, their awareness and their ability to think and act in the world is really impacted because we live through moving. So as we grow older, our experiences in life are not just experiences of behavior, they're experiences of movement. And by the time we're about our age, a lot of us, whatever range we're at, we've been living through various traumas, right? We've been living through experiences, good and bad, that have helped shape who we are. They shape how we withhold, how we move forward, how our nervous system has taken on meaning in our life. And as people get older and older, we tend to be more and more constrained in how we move. That's not necessary, by the way, but there's a belief that it is, that we have limited movement, right? So we actually make meaning through our body. We don't even necessarily realize that. We just are trained to think it's our mind completely that makes meaning. And so what we want to do is we want to release our body in wherever it's holding its meaning, right? And so I'm sure most of you have heard of Dr. Gabor Mate. He talks about how trauma and how, difficult situations, even situations that may not seem traumatic on the outside, but if you're perceiving them as traumatic, they get stuck in the body. They literally can get stuck in the musculature, in your fascia, in your organs. And as we continually go through unsafety as kids, or perceived unsafety as young adults, we get into habitual rhythms in our body. And so when we, and then we make meaning and beliefs around that. And so, it's so funny because how many of you know your patterns? You kind of know where you're stuck and you've known it for a long time and you've been working on it. but it still shows up. It's because we know it from the mind's perspective, but we haven't yet fully allowed space for it and identified it and released it in the body. So when we want to be speaking and connecting and owning who we are, when we want to be authentic and comfortable, we need to have worked through this and identified it. But so just so you know, a lot of us have spent many years. I mean, listen, I have been in strategy for so many years. A businesswoman, I've made multi-million-dollar deals, and I'm good at it, and I'm good at looking great. And you can be in a frozen state inside and still look great, but you kind of know you're putting it on a little bit, right? But being so disconnected for years from my body, I didn't even know what I truly, truly desired, right? I didn't know how to get out of these patterns of invisibility or of being afraid to fully speak, even though it all made sense on paper that I should not be afraid to get out and speak on stage or tell my story. So this is why we want to fully include the body, right? So it's going to help us access our breath, help us just stand straighter, help us release finally and find those parts of ourselves that we've kind of hidden away. The somatic practice opens the body at the gross level of the muscles, okay, and the fascia. So it literally helps you stand straighter and be more supple. Relax those tight areas. If you've been injured or had surgeries, like myself with my sternum split, there's places where we've protected ourselves at the physical level, at the gross physical level. Those places will start to melt away. And so if you haven't been able to access your full breath, even if you're not aware of that, you're going to start doing that, okay? But it's also at the subtler level of your system. It's going to start loosening up and softening your nervous system. Those places where we contract in our organs, in our sensory pathways, in our viscera, in our behavior even. So the places where we're frozen, or the places where we feel panic, disconnected, unsafe, isolated, they're going to start to loosen. It's going to start to work on your voice and your presence in the world. So the ways we subtly move back, dim down, play small, are the ways where we're trying to force ourselves to get out there and get seen, or force ourselves to speak up, because we don't want to force and we don't want to hide. So as you're doing the somatic practice, just being aware, starting to feel the interiority of your body. It's called interoception. We're waking up to our body. We're not just a thinking head. We're a body. And if you've had any trauma in your body, you may not feel it right away. So that's okay. All ranges of experience are fine. But this is very, very profound for how we're going to move forward in the rest of our work together.